Welcome to the Ginger Electrician podcast, the favourite show for homeowners, business owners or landlords to stay safe, up to date and fault-free. Discover the best advice, products and resources, plus interviews with the very best people in the business. And now, here's your host, an electrician in Leeds for over 3 decades, an author and motivational speaker, and founder of S. Barker Electrical, Simon Barker.
Have you ever done anything that you regret? And I'm not talking about that stag or hen do. I'm talking about something, a job that you've done in the house maybe, where you've had a go at something and you've been a bit anxious since and wondering if you've done it properly. Or maybe getting someone in that you weren't sure of and you're not sure whether they've done that great a job of it either. And you've maybe been a bit disappointed or even angry since. Or even an expensive house move where you weren't prepared and you found that when you moved in, there was a lot of things that you had to put right that you didn't expect and you regret not looking deeper in the first place. Is it still on your mind now? Do you feel like it's been done safely? Does it put you off doing it in future? This is actually quite common and you've just been misled, that's all. The reason is that there's a lot of bad DIY advice out there everywhere, but where do you look? We'll come to that. And who do you choose? Well, there's ways of finding the right person. And how do you avoid getting stung in future? The best way to avoid getting stung or to come across any of those problems in the future is to just get informed. So whether it's about new tech, such as electric vehicles or smart homes or anything that's coming out soon. Also avoiding the common errors too, or finding one place where you can find some good, reliable information. Maybe a community where you can ask the right people that have that knowledge. So don't put yourself at risk anymore or don't get ripped off. If you now start to ask someone with experience, you can get the other point of view. You maybe even get some insights into how electricians think and how we operate too. Now I've heard a lot of your stories and I've had a lot of experiences myself as well as the ones that I've heard coming from you. And this is why I've ended up doing this particular podcast, Ginger Electrician podcast. And it's also why I created a Facebook community also called Ginger Electrician. But the problem is we're all really busy and for that reason a podcast is nice and portable. You can play it anywhere in the car while you're doing anything around the house or going out for a walk. The mobile community, it's Facebook, so you can go on there on your phone at any time, whether you're in a cafe, again, out and about, wherever you need it. As soon as those questions pop up, you can just jump on. And it's absolutely clear with no jargon. It's just answers for how customers would expect to hear it. It addresses their common needs and it's in your language. And so for that reason, it's not actually for electricians. It's not about moaning and whining and technicalities and that sort of thing. It's not about the electrical regulations and confusing technical content. It's just for customers and those who want to do things themselves or make sure that they get the right person to do the job. And for that reason though, I've also got another podcast for electricians to keep them happy, and that one is called Electrical Business Community. So if you're an electrician, go over to Electrical Business Community podcast instead. So, as a customer or a DIYer or someone who enjoys doing projects themselves, here's a selection of what's to come. And be looking at how to stay safe when you're doing these little tasks. Be looking at hybrid vehicles versus electric vehicles, so what's coming out, which ones are the best of the two, and so on. How about saving on job costs? Not necessarily parts, because that can be false labour, but how you can get more value when you get trades into your home and things like that. We'll also look at how to make sure things are good quality, so quality products, quality solutions, quality tradespeople, that sort of thing. And what about buying a house? It's already a nightmare as it is, but making sure that you actually get the right price for your house. Believe it or not, it can actually relate to something in our electrical world as well. So I'll go deep into that as well. And then buying a house, you need to make sure it's safe. It's so common, and I've seen this lots of times when I go to inspection jobs, for example. Someone's just moved into a house, they've done it all up, and then they've got it checked out, and they've found that there's a lot of issues, expensive repairs that they not only have to put right, but they've then got to redecorate afterwards. If you do that beforehand, you can save money on the negotiation price. So this is one that we'll look at deeply as well. Or maybe it's just about reducing electrical bills. There's ways and means to do that. There's different technologies out there. There's different types of light fittings and all sorts of different things, LEDs, different solutions. And speaking of lights, those different ideas for inside and outside, and some of them tackle security issues, some of them are just effectiveness, and others you might want a nice bright light that doesn't cost you earth, or just highlight some area of your room or feature. And is there anything else that you'd like to cover? Because this is just a sample of some of the things that I know are coming, but I would love to hear more from you. If you get involved and put comments in the Facebook group, which is also called Ginger Electrician. I'm always in there so I can look at what people are asking and I'll do an episode on that. There's also some show notes for this podcast, and that is over at sbarker.co.uk/podcast. The Facebook link is also over there, and there's resources, links, and some other things over there too. I'm going to tell you a short story of something that happened to me, and I bet you can relate to it as well. But first I've got a question for you. What do you think is the most common electrical fault in the home, domestic fault? What do you think is the most common one? So keep listening and I'll give you that answer soon. So, a few years ago, I moved into a rented apartment, and when I was looking around, I noticed that the kitchen worktop was burnt out from pans or something. I wanted that to get fixed as soon as possible when I moved in. So, there was actually 2 visits to come and sort that out. First one, I happened to be at home. The joiner came, really friendly bloke, telling me all about his family and kids and this, that and the other, getting on with it, taking all of the mess outside. It was a nice sunny day and he was bagging up the dust and that sort of thing, took all the mess away. Great job. But it was only partly done, he had to come back and finish off. Now the second day, I was at work, so I left a key so he could lock up when it was done. This time he sent a text when he was finished, but when I got back, it wasn't quite as it was first time. So what happened this time is he decided to use the lounge as a work area, and so, cutting with circular saws, that sort of thing, which made quite a mess. It got all stuck in, all the little wooden bits in the twisted carpet, which was a nightmare to get out, to clean up when I got home. Now, even though he did a good job of the worktop, I was disappointed that he'd done that. And so you can see it's not just about being good at what you do, but the service, whether it's communication, finishing touches, tidying up, is all really important. And I'm sure you've been through these sort of things before. But what it made me think of is that is really important, and I want to make sure that I don't do that when I do jobs for other people. So I'm always aware of that and looking to continuously improve that in everything I do as well. And so if you keep listening to these episodes, I will be going through some information that helps you to avoid all of that sort of thing for yourself, so that you don't get any of this bad workmanship even, or maybe just bad finishing touches and things like that. There's ways of trying to avoid it, things you can do to make sure it doesn't happen. Now, back to that question I asked earlier. What is the most common issue that people call about on domestic household jobs? So what usually happens is I get phone calls from someone who says, my partner's just had a go at changing the light fitting. He's took it off, took a note of how it was, and put it back exactly how it was on his notes. Now, he's tried to switch it on, it doesn't work, or the rest of the house has gone off, or it's tripping. Now, clearly, he hadn't put it back on the way that it should have been back on. But this is actually the most common issue that people have. It looks simple, but it's the most problematic area, light fittings. It's closely followed by sockets and switches when people try and change those as well, especially the two-way ones that go on stairways. So I'm wondering, did you guess what that was? So with the right information, you're not sitting in the dark when things go wrong, and you're staying safe as well. You're not anxious about whether that was really done properly or not. But information is everywhere. It's on Facebook, Google, YouTube, all the social media channels. But who do you trust? Which channel do you listen to? Which website do you go to? It's frustrating, it's time consuming to try and check it all out and find the right one that you seem to think you might be able to trust. It's not well monitored either, because the likes of Google, Facebook, YouTube, they want engagement. So if something is getting a lot of engagement, it doesn't matter whether it's high quality or not. Even if people are arguing, that's engagement. And those platforms like engagement because it keeps people on there. So quality is what you need to get. And so it's no wonder that you're frustrated or confused or just overwhelmed by everything that's out there. It's a minefield. And not only that, but it could be biased in some way. It could be just a one-sided view from someone that kind of knows a little bit of something. They say a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. But also it could be politically biased or, anything. You just don't know, do you? Now, with 30 odd years of me being an electrician, I've seen all of this ill advice. I've seen the bad workmanship, and I've seen the bad service too. Because it's happened to me as well. I've had rogue web developers do really bad jobs for me and charge a fortune. I've had a kitchen fitter that ran off to Australia without paying me. I had a builder went bust, and that was at a time when I was about to go on my dream holiday to China. I had it all booked up, and this builder went bust. I lost my money. I didn't get the money. I ended up losing my dream trip to China. It was a nightmare. And I've also been tied into some services that look like they're going to be great. For example, online services, IT stuff, where they're just rubbish and you're tied in for a year with no way of getting out. I'm sure you've had some of these experiences yourself, and so you can see now why it's really useful to get well informed. You need well-structured information that's easy to understand and not technical babble, gobbledygook, regs, speak and all that stuff, and that's made with you in mind. And I'll come to my solution on that in a moment. But first of all, I'm going to answer a question that's probably in your mind, and it's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. And that is, who am I anyway? Who's this person on this podcast, and why should we listen to him? Well, I'm Simon Barker, and I've been an electrician since 1988. So yep, that makes me almost 50 years old. At school, my passions were maths, computing, and playing the cornet and the trumpet in both the town band and the school band. I even continued maths and computing later because I got an Open University honours degree in it too. And I've always been a grafter. Where everyone else was getting paper rounds, I managed to get one of these gold dust milk rounds. So I did that on a Wednesday evening and a Sunday morning. But when I left school and became an electrician, I started in the car industry and I got the best training. I was really lucky. I worked for the best companies and I got really good training in the UK and worldwide. And these were pioneering companies with all the best systems and equipment in there. So it was a car industry, semiconductors, refrigeration, fridge manufacturer, and also power tools. And the jobs I did range from electrician, technician, electronics engineer, and a software engineer for 3 years of that time as well. And that was 19 years working for other people. It wasn't one of these shortcuts, it wasn't one of these overnight things or 10-week wonders. It was a proper 4-year apprenticeship, lots of long hours, hard graft, and just getting my head down and going for it. And as you'll see later, I think that really paid off well. But the thing is, this was all in the northeast, and you might have heard people saying grim up north, and places kept closing down. So I had some really good jobs, but they kept going one by one, places closing down. And so after 19 years of working for other people, I decided to finally start my own electrical business in 2007. But you might realise this was just 1 year before the big recession in 2008. And the other challenge I had as well was I'm a townie. I was born in Darlington and I lived most of my life in Spennymoor, a little place in between Durham and Darlington. And I ended up moving from the small town to the big city in Leeds. And that was quite a challenge as well, because I went from being one of the 5 electricians in that town to competing with 300 registered electricians in Leeds. It wasn't easy. I had to work hard. I listened to what was going on and adapted so that I could get up there. But eventually I rose through that and I got quite well established. If you look now, I'm usually on the first page of Google. I have quite a lot of enquiries, this sort of thing. But I also decided, because I have that interest in IT as well, and I'm very good with the systems in place and following up fast and all this stuff, I decided to teach that to other UK electricians. And so I have a membership site for them. I have a community for them. I also do some talks, I've written some articles, and I've even been in 2 of the national magazines for our industry as well. So what am I up to now? So what I decided to do was give something back, because I've been an electrician over 30 years. It's been good to me. I'm someone who practices gratitude, but because there's a lot of bad advice, I wanted to give back. I wanted to give some information to people that makes things clearer, keeps them safe, and also helps them with their next project. I want to help people avoid bad DIY. If you do choose to do it yourself, that's fine, but I don't want you to get killed. And I also want you to eliminate bad experiences when you get other people, whatever the trade, to come into your home or office. And so the solution, obviously, that I come up with is the Ginger Electrician podcast and the Facebook community. And so please remember to subscribe, because that way you will get all the future episodes that are coming out soon. You'll stay well informed. And I'm even going to do some interviews with people from other trades and other services such as letting agents, estate agents and those sort of things. And between the podcast and the Facebook community, the Ginger Electrician is going to have loads of links and downloads in this episode and in future episodes as well. There'll be loads of useful stuff. And I've set up a show notes page, and that is over at sbarker.co.uk/podcast. So sbarker, that's sbarker.co.uk/podcast. Some really useful stuff on there already, even for this introduction episode. So join me and join the other people in that community. Stay informed on all the things electrical. Email if you want to. Get me at simon@sbarker.co.uk. Let me have your questions. Pop them in the community area on Facebook. From now on, I want you to be safe, and that's the goal. So break that cycle and make sure that you're not doing any more bad DIY jobs. Get that knowledge to make sure that you do stay safe. Make sure you're not getting any more bad workmanship as well. Learn how to get them done properly. Don't waste any more time. Get the clear information from an experienced electrician and a community that's also been through it. So let's do this. Let's go on that journey and just see where we get to. See how we can help each other. So don't keep doing what you've always done. So before I wrap up, remember that you've got them show notes at sbarker.co.uk/podcast. And in the next episode, I'm going to have a look at a global threat that's had a permanent impact on electricians and other trades, and I'm going to look at whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for customers. I'm going to reveal some inside secrets that are changing the way that we work and what that means for you. I'm Simon Barker. Thank you for listening to the Ginger Electrician podcast.